Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the most important aspect of the Kaleidoscope Olympic Games, the Judges Panel, where you will ultimately judge each other and determine who is not capable of continuing in this competition. Vincent, now that we have entered the game proper, has there been an obvious shift in gameplay? You're muted.
Yes, there has, because we can talk one-on-one now. And that, for me personally, I do better in one-on-one situations. You can have thousands of alliances in the game, but, at the end of the day, I always trust the one-on-one conversations I have with people because I feel like that's where I can be the most myself, where I don't have to be a yes man or feel like I have to I can just talk to a person face to face and say, hey, this is how I feel about things. How do you feel about things? And I feel like there's a lot of people specifically in this group that play the game the same way. I can't speak for everybody else on the other side, but I feel like we have the better crew as far as one-on-one conversations are concerned. So yeah, there's been a shift because we no longer have to just kind of sit in a room and just wait for things to pop off. We can, stay up all night talking to each other one-on-one, and it's been fun.
Speaking of the other side, how has the locker rooms impacted things happening on this side?
I mean, on my end, not at all. Hasn't really come up in that regard of that communication mattering. I got to have fun in there. I've not made that hidden. Um, I went deeper, and I chose who isn't going to be playing on the other side tomorrow in the challenge or soon. So, and I have not been hidden with that. This group knows who that is.
Mm-hmm. Austin, how has knowing that there's potentially communication with the other side dictated the way in which you've played this side?
Not at all. I'm not worried about what they're doing with the other side. The other side doesn't vote. The other side doesn't decide anything right now over here. I'm just worried about what's happening on this tribe.
Michael, is it frustrating to lose 3-0? Like, feel like you just didn't even get out the gate?
Yeah, I mean, it's very frustrating. I didn't even get to compete. And I would have loved to compete for my tribe. But it's also a little scary because, none of us won any of our rounds, right? So, that begs the question, like, if it was such this large, like, blowout per se of the competition, like, or is this the same for other challenges? So that's really where my head is at with that. I'm a little nervous moving forward because of that, wide margin.
Jacob, Kaleidoscope, in all of its history, does tend to have one team be much more dominant than the other team. So, with one loss so far, are you worried that this is the team that isn't as successful?
Don't get me started on those damn tribes that keep losing, because I was on that my first season. Oh, no, second season. I forget I played a first, second, and third time. I don't even. Season 3 is just a hazy memory to me. But no, I don't think that's going to be the case. I think that I've made it very clear that to people whom I've talked to about challenge strength and how I feel about the tribe in that regard. Like, if I had to pick a dream team, most of these people would be here. Like, if I'm just looking at just challenge strength, looking at Kaleidoscope, looking at other games, I think we have a lot of really good competitors, a lot of people who aren't slouches in that regard. I think we got very unlucky with this. One of these games, someone was able to get 4. We practiced for like 3 hours and we couldn't even, we were trying to get 2, and here they are able to get 4. There's a coin flip as a factor of trying to select whether you'd get more cards, go first, or less cards and go second. There's many different variables. I don't think this challenge in and of itself is an indicator that we are that much of a deficit behind them as far as challenge prowess is concerned. I have complete faith in this tribe that we'll be able to bounce back and rebound, and that they'll be going to the judges panel next round. Sorry, Tyler. Sorry.
Noah, speaking of the dream team, if you really are the dream team, how do you determine who is no longer going to be a part of it?
Well, that's a really tough question.
One that'll be answered tonight.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we are all, I said it many times, we're all stars for our own significant reasons. So we all earned our place here. I guess this tribe is kind of in a state. Well, this is how I feel. It usually feels like those early rounds in the games, you have those people that are like kind of easy, not to their fault, but easy just to vote out. So there's always kind of a consensus with that regard. But the consensus for tonight, like, is a difficult one to come to because there's so many relationships you have to weigh, and there's so many um variables within this all stars format that you have to consider. So navigating that and having to decide on someone who has to go tonight, who deserves to be here as much as any of us, who is an all star, is a difficult one to make. But alas, we're all here, and we will be making it.
Karen, does this vote come down to an easy vote, or is there something greater that could be afoot?
It's hard to say. Like, we're all figuring out what we're trying to do here and what everyone else is trying to do here. What's easy for some isn't going to be easy for others. What's easy right now is actually going to be harder long term. So figuring out what's easy, I don't think it comes down to what's easy. I think it's been a lot of everyone trying to figure out this pace. We've all been here before. We've all gotten far before. How do we do it again without overplaying? How do we do it again without missing something? If it is easy, does that mean you're just missing something right off the bat? Yeah, I think I rambled and answered-ish your question.
Sam, do you feel like everybody is starting to figure out where their place is in the village?
No, I think that like if I've learned anything from playing these games, it's like everything changes with every round. I think that we're figuring out like who we like are vibing with, and that's like the onset, and then it's okay, who do I want to continue to talk to? Then it's who do I work with? That's not always who I like. And in this game, it's so unique because I mean, we for the most part all know one another or know of one another. Like there's people here who are production from my first game or my most recent game, and like there's people I've played with, and I don't know how they play. And so I think every round we're just going to learn more about one another, and it's going to be different every single time.
William, is it tough to make an assessment of who's maybe not as active? Does that play a factor?
I think that's in like normal seasons, I would say, yeah. Like people always look at who's active, who's not. And I think that that's because like life comes in the way and all that kind of stuff. But I think with this, it's like we know people have the capacity to be active and they know what they're kind of signing up for. So you kind of get less of that, like this person's just not around, but it's more of like, how do I see this person working with me long term? How does I see this person in my end game? And so I think those are kind of the conversations that I feel like I've been trying to have instead of like who's just not as present as someone else.
Cammy, are there obvious divisions?
I would say so. Everybody has their own relationships and friendships and stuff like that lies outside of this game. And I feel like that definitely comes into play. Even though people like, want to go one way or the other, I feel like, yeah, if you are friends with somebody outside of this, of course that's going to come into play. So yeah, maybe a little, but yeah, I don't know.
Denson, are friendships much of a factor in this situation, or does everybody view each other as players?
I would hope that everyone views each other as players. I certainly made it no secret about basically any game I've ever played with real life friends and how I've literally never gone a game where I haven't been voted out by a friend or that I have voted out a friend. And I'm treating this the exact same. I have real life friends in this game, and that's not going to stop me from being like, okay, well, I'd vote them out because at the end of the day, if they get pissy about it, then we don't need to be friends in the first place. Because if you can't take this, then how am I supposed to beat you in like, I don't know, Madden or Monopoly without you throwing a hissy fit? And vice versa. If I can't take losing, then why do you even want to be friends with me? I'm a little bitch. So I feel like everyone is here to game with people that are players and not game with people that they're friends. I think that answers your question.
Mm-hmm. Keaton, do you feel like everybody's playing fair, or are those playing dirty?
What do you? I don't understand. Like, I think it's been very, if you mean if people are trying to make deals under the table and there's some giant shit going on, I don't think so. I think this is not a overly complicated vote. It seems like it has all just kind of fell in one place, and I don't think there are games going on. I think that's what you asked. I don't know.
All right, Austin. Keaton says this is not going to be an overly complicated vote. So does that make you feel secure or worried?
I mean, I feel okay if everyone's told me the truth, which I feel like everybody has. It's sad, but it happens. You know what I mean? It's the game. We're here to vote each other out. So, I hope I feel okay, and hopefully that's true. So,
Michael, if this vote is going to be simple, then are you setting yourself up for a more difficult next vote?
Possibly. We're not there yet. I think a lot of us, like, I take things one day by day. And I think there are other people here who take things day by day. But some of the people here who are planners, I know we've talked about if there's a possible, I've been in talks about like if there's a possible swap in the future or not, or like what that looks like, which is part of the whole planning process. But it's like, how do you kind of like navigate that with your positioning? So, I mean, I don't really, it's hard to gauge. And I think a lot of us are still trying to get our footing, and figure out where we are in this game. So I think we're kind of figuring out how that position works with how our own position factors into each vote.
Jacob, let's talk about planning, right? So it's an all-star game. Twists may be abundant and abound. How do you truly plan?
I think it's really, I mean, it depends on the people that you're talking to. You know, if you're playing with a bunch of people who are kind of just playing in the moment, it's kind of very difficult for you to plan openly with others. Like if someone's just thinking about like Jacob, I'm not worried about no fucking final 3 right now. I'm worried about final 20 and making sure we get to 19, then I can't bounce ideas off of that person. I kind of got to keep some of those thoughts to myself or my prod chat. But if you play with some people that are really thinking multiple rounds ahead and thinking of what repercussions may come of something this round, then you can plan. There's so many things that aren't uncertain. You've already thrown us a curveball by not even granting us one-on-ones, which I thought is like a constant in these games. So there's going to be many unorthodox ways we're probably going to have to navigate trying to socialize and get people to know what's going on and try to get a hold of others. So I don't know.
Noah, does knowing that everybody here has been to the end game phase make it easier to have conversations about how to get there?
Yes and no. It's like like I said before, it's like we've all made it there, so we know what it takes to get there. Um, so for me, my first thought, it's like that's reassuring because it's like we're all here, like we're all like gonna talk and like do that. But it's like also someone else mentioned like I feel like we're the kind of like less messier tribe, if that makes sense. Like we're here to play Survivor, but we don't necessarily want to like hurt each other's feelings or do anything like that in this game. Whereas like the other tribe, I feel like that could be like a lot of messy interactions, more spicy things, but yeah, I think I don't know. Did I answer the question? It's easier and harder at the same time because we've been there before, but we haven't been in the earlier stages of the game with people that we also know have also been there before.
Aaron, I feel like there's a lot of talk about the other village being the messy village and this village being the clean village. Can you just like elaborate on this? Like, how did this become a thing?
Well, I don't know. I think genuinely part of it, I think the heart wants what the heart wants. And me, low key, I'm hoping and praying they're the messier tribe, like that would be very good over here. So maybe it's more like power of manifestation than like any real observations to base it off of. Um, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Just like wishful thinking more so than any pointed like, well, this person obviously and that. Yeah.
All right. So, Sanam, is it safe to say that this village will probably, in the event of a potential swap, which there could not be a swap at all, but that this village is inclined to want to stick together?
That depends. Can the other village see this?
Sorry.
I don't know. I think that like it's too early to tell, and I think that like I like the people on my village, and every vote's going to be hard, but I think at the end of the day, like we're going to figure out where our allegiances will get us to the next round, and I think that like we're going to have the opportunity to forge those relationships here, and hopefully we have those that are strong enough to carry over. But at the end of the day, like there are people on the other tribe that might be equally as good of allies or better with people here and without them. So I would love to say like this is the perfect tribe, and if there's 6 of us on the one and 4 of the other, then we're taking them out. But if there's 4 of us, then no, of course, please adopt us. Like, what do you want me to say?
William, how does this village rally and win the next challenge?
I was expecting a part 2 to that. Okay. I think that we just maintain positivity. I think that we've shown ourselves to be capable in different capacities. We've all seen each other play. I feel like everyone on that little cast reveal, cast info, I think almost everyone at least won one individual immunity, I think. So everyone's capable of doing something, and you never know. It could be like our thing the next time. You never know every time. But I think that if we just try our best and maintain positivity, then we can hopefully get them next time. And that's all you can hope for.
And Cami, what should everybody consider when going to vote tonight?
Well, I know pretty much already where everybody's leaning towards. Hard to answer. I don't know. Really make sure that the people who you align yourself with, you can trust them.
All right. Wise words were never more spoken. Tyler B., this ends your time here spectating. Thank you very much. Have a good night. And then for the rest of you, I am going to go off camera and I'm going to mute myself. While I'm away, please do not talk about this vote or this game. But if you could please bump your vote to the top of the prod chat, that will make my life a hell of a lot easier. And now is the time for shout outs. And again, Tyler B., you can leave.
Okay, bye everyone.
Shout out to the dogs at my doggy daycare for making my afternoon more fun. And I'm going to go off camera because I have to get ready for my other job now. but I'm here. Sorry.
Shout out to my prod chat guests, Jeremy and John Buckley. I'd say y'all keep me sane, but that's not what you're there for. That's not what you guys do. Yeah, that's all I have to shout out right now.
Shout out to my podcast. Shout out to Mitch. Shout out to Cash. Shout out to Mia. And shout out to Dr. Holly from Dance Moms.
I just had to come back to say how beautifully strange and wonderful it is to hear Karen give a shout out instead of ask for them. That was mind boggling.
Shout out to my podcast Seb, my boy. Apply to Distortion, looks up the name of the season, Trials of Raw. I think that's how you say it. And shout out to Aaliyah, who's asleep. I love you.
Shout out to Natalie Nunn. Cast Michael on the next season of Baddies.
Oh my gosh. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Big Nat. Shout out to my prod guests as well, Coco and Cam. Yeah. Shout out to Rolly.
Shout out to Judge Toller.
Yes, very much Judge Solar.
Sorry, Miss Girl. It's Judge. I know he shouted out Cash, but he was jealous that never mind, he didn't want to see the camera. Fuck. Steps on.
Me just finding out that wait, Sky from Black Ink Crew was on Baddies?
I don't know. Shout out
Yep.
to Stunner Girl. You need to go on another season of Baddies. Not me just shouting out the entire.
Shout out to Pumpkin.
Yeah, what the fuck?
The fight.
Of love.
Yeah, it's just the fight.
Oh, shout out to my cousin Tiffany, hashtag styled by Tiff on Roblox. You got the
Yes.
fashion, you got the fashion maven rank and just to impress without buying VIP, which is super impressive.
Okay, queen.
So
I love that her Roblox name is like her professional, like
yeah.
styling business.
shout out to Nicki Minaj. You're that girl who will always be the queen of rap, regardless of what anyone says. Shout out to Jocelyn Hernandez. We're waiting
And
for
Mary.
a new season of The Cabaret. It's coming.
And Mary Whitten Calkins.
Are you just going through all of Zeus Network at this point?
Oh, Julie Ragbeer.
Yeah, Julie Ragbeer.
Yeah, shout out to Julie Ragbeer. We're waiting for Perplex, but I need my Perplex vinyl. What's the
Shout
next
out to,
one
they're out
coming?
of stock. Shout out to Beehive. Beehive.
Shout out to Zeus Network. Shout out to Poseidon, Artemis, Athena Network, Ares Network, Hermes Network, all
Stop.
Apollo Network.
Stop. Stop.
Keeps
Cancel.
going.
Someone needs
Aphrodite
Jacob.
Network.
Someone needs Jacob.
Shout out to Cooking with Kaya.
All the votes.
I have the votes inside this judging box where you have judged each other. Before I read the votes, though, if anybody has found a hidden immunity idol or other relevant advantage and you would like to play it, now would be the time to do so. Okay, I will read the votes. Once the votes are read, the decision is final. The person with the most votes will have a moment to speak their piece, and then they must leave the Zoom immediately. I will read the votes. First vote. Cami. Cammy. 2 votes, Cammy. Cammy. 3 votes, Cammy. Cammy. That's 4 votes, Cammy. Cammy. 5 votes, Cammy. Karen. 5 votes, Cammy. 1 vote, Karen. The next competitor to be bested by their opponents and to have been defeated in the Olympic Games is Cammy. Cammy, you may now speak your piece.
First off, I'm gonna say sorry, Karen. Just didn't talk to you at all. Like barely at all today. So that's why. Boom. Sorry. I already knew like for the past hour that everybody's voting me. I gave it my best shot. I tried to fight for my life out in these streets and pop my pussy, but I guess it didn't work. Nobody wanted it, you know. So y'all better kill it or something. I don't know. I'm really bad with this. Love you guys. Thanks.
Love you, Cammy.
Love you, Cammy. Love you,
So,
Cammy.
and no hard feelings. Been through this before. Whatever. The first time was awful. It gets easier every time. So,
Love you.
Love
yeah.
you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Cammy.
Bye.
Diva down, man.
Well, the
Diva
first winner has fallen, and you all seem to be pretty united. So hopefully you can keep that momentum going into this next challenge. Locker rooms will be open soon, and I will see you all later. Good night.
Natalie Nunn. Let me stop.